Welcome to the Connectable podcast.
The Connectable podcast starts in 3, 2, 1.
Okay, so Deb is not here tonight, everybody, but that's okay because we have a very special guest. I don't even know how to describe you. I'm gonna be honest because I feel like I'm gonna say this. I feel like you're my favorite person that I don't know very well at all because I just think you're the coolest person, and I think you're super interesting because it just seems like you do anything and everything. Just based on what you post on social media, it's like you're the most interesting woman in the world.
Wow.
I'm just going to say it. I'm going to start off strong with this podcast. So the other voice and the other face you see on this podcast tonight is our friend, Alexis Smith. What's going on?
Hi, everybody. So excited to be here, Josh.
Yeah, well, thank you so much.
It's funny that you say that well, first of all, thank you for saying that. You said I'm your favorite person that you don't really know. That's such a beautiful compliment because I'm like an extension of your wife, obviously, and your sister have known me for many years. I don't even count the years anymore, but I think it's close to 15. I knew your wife when she was in high school.
Yeah. Yeah. If I remember correctly, you even knew our middle brother, Jordan, before that, right?
Yes, he was in my small group at Capital Christian Center.
Right.
And I don't even know what they called it back then. I can't remember, but he was in my small group and he was just one of my favorite little boys, like just so sweet, so respectful, and just this bright star. And then, obviously a little later down the line, I got to know Ashley and Rachel and fell in love with those girls. And they became, I was never their group leader, but we kind of became friends, more than anything.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know this is like a massive understatement, what I'm about to say, but they love you. Like you are one of their favorite people, and the way they talk about you, obviously I know both of them really well. The way they talk about you and the way they see you, like the standard is so high.
Wow.
Like they love you that much. And so in fact, my wife hopped on before we started recording because when she heard that I got you on the podcast, she's like, "Oh, I'm gonna stop by." I'm like, "Oh, you just invited yourself to the podcast. All right, perfect." We'll start a little late for you. So, but she was so excited. But I mean, yeah, I mean, your reputation is just, I mean, I think awesome with everybody that I like, all of our common connections, right? Like we both worked at Capital for a bit under the same group. We did some of the Be Change stuff all at different times. Like our paths never crossed. We never worked together. But I'll tell you what, I was a little bit nervous once I started working there because I knew that you were there before me. And I'm like, those are big shoes to fill. Those are big shoes to fill.
You did a wonderful job.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate that for sure. Well, usually we start the podcast off by letting people know how we're connected because it's called Connectable. But I mean, we kind of already did that. Like, my wife and sister, you're friends with them. You were one of my wife's bridesmaids in our wedding. And I'm just going to say this too. There was a lot of conversation. I don't know if you knew this prior to the wedding when, you're doing all of the, hey, who's going to stand with who and all this stuff. My brothers were nervous because they know that you're in great shape and they knew that you have cannons for arms. And it's like, they're all like, I don't want to walk with her.
That is so funny.
You were making everybody a little nervous and self-conscious. So
I'm nervous. That's the only way to survive.
That's right. Well, like I said, you are a super interesting person to me because we follow each other on social media. And I feel like you've just done, it seems like everything, because like going the fitness stuff, right? Like you were in, I don't think it was bodybuilding, but you did a fitness competition for a while, right?
Yeah. So I got into, and it's considered bodybuilding, but my category was bikini.
Got it.
And it's so interesting that how I even got involved in that sport. But I had, for many years, I went through a divorce back in 2010. And I think I just threw myself into working out. That was kind of my therapy. That was my safe place. That's just how I kind of coped with everything. And so I just started working out, and it started with Insanity. I would do insanity videos, and those are like they've got 20-minute videos, 30-minute, 40-minute, hour-long videos. And I started there, and I would just run. And then I, got a gym membership, and I started lifting weights, and I fell in love with not just with the actual workouts, but I fell in love with, if you do this and if you eat in this way, you can transform your body. And I was fascinated with that process. And then interestingly enough, I think a lot of times when women start to work out and they have a little bit of muscle, people assume that they're in the bodybuilding world. And so I was asked so many times, I think for maybe 2 years, of like, do you compete, or what show do you do? And after people asking me so many times, I said to myself, if someone asks me one more time, I'm just going to compete. I'm going to do it.
Really?
And sure enough, it happened. And so I kind of dove into that world, and it was something that I thought that I was going to do for a long time. I saw myself, possibly into my 40s competing. And I did 2 shows. I won my pro card at my first show. And
I didn't know that. You're a pro?
yeah.
I
So
had no idea.
yeah, I did. I went the natural route. So I didn't compete in NPC, but it was the natural bodybuilding shows that I got involved in. And I competed one time after that. I was supposed to go to the Natural Olympia. And as I was training for it, it's a brutal process, right? Yeah. It's hard on your body. It's hard on your mental. It's hard on your relationships. And I'll never forget. I was 2 months out from the Olympia, and my boyfriend and I were driving to the gym, and we were in my car, and I was driving, and he was in the passenger, and I said something, and he looked at me and he goes, "Are you even enjoying this? Like,
Wow.
are you having fun anymore?" And I sat back, and I thought about it, and I was like, I'm not having fun. And for me, that's a problem for me, because I love working out.
Sure.
And when that becomes a chore, and when that becomes something that is no longer enjoyable, I can't get behind that. And so I made this hard decision to drop out of, competing in the Olympia. And I don't have any regrets about that.
Yeah, it sounds like it. Man, that's such a weird thing. Well, I'm gonna say this first of all. So a couple of weeks ago, we had a professional bodybuilder on, and then maybe a month or 2 ago, we had another bodybuilder on. So I don't know what it is. Our show just attracts bodybuilders for some reason, but they said some very similar things as far as how challenging it is, and as far as how difficult it is. I mean, obviously, like I said, our whole purpose of the show is to connect with people and help people get connected with our guests, and our audience connected with each other. But obviously, when you go down that road of bodybuilding, it's incredibly difficult, like you said, because your diet changes, your schedule changes, everything kind of revolves around your fitness journey and the goal that you're trying to achieve, at the end of the show that you're competing in. And so it's just a really difficult, like everything you said just matches up perfectly with everything they said as well. And it's such a weird thing, like even you saying that, it's like you didn't enjoy it, and it was almost becoming more stressful than it was enjoyable, which is weird, because the reason why we work out is to get healthier, right? But then you can also swing the other way, where it's like I'm probably in the best shape I've ever been, but mentally I'm struggling, and I don't enjoy it. It's such a weird thing.
So what's interesting, I was with a girlfriend last night, and people ask me all the time, are you ever going to compete again? What's going on? Why'd you decide to stop? And I told my girlfriend last night, it's the very thing. It's not even, Josh, it's not even that you look incredible and you're in the best shape of your life, but mentally you're not there. I'll be honest, when you see people that compete, and they're shredded, and their muscles are popping and they're lean, and you look at them and you're like, wow, that's incredible. What's your diet? What's your cardio? Like, I'm going to do it. Like, that's how great you look. You look at these people and you think they physically, because they look amazing. They look like someone has, carved them out of rock. You think they feel amazing. 9 times out of 10, they don't. They feel horrible. You're weak. You're tired. You have brain fog. Like, you have no energy. And I had a girlfriend tell me one time, she said, I totally understand what you mean. I've been doing low carbs for a couple of weeks, so I completely understand. In her mind, her low carbs, she can empathize with how weak and how tired I was, but it's a whole different scale. It's a different level when you've been doing that for months and you've been doing 2 hours of cardio and your fat is low and like all these things piled onto it. It's like, I would have to drag myself upstairs. That's how much energy I did not have. It was horrible. And for me, of course I want to look good. We're human, right? We want to look good.
Sure.
But I really, 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 right now I'm 36. I really, really, really want to look good and feel amazing when I'm 50, 60, 70 years old. And that lifestyle for me personally, for sure, if I continue down that road, for sure, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, I will not look good. I would not feel, it just was, it was an interesting part of my life. I'm glad I did it. I have no regrets. I proved to myself that I'm capable of, but it's just not fun.
It sounds awful. I've never even tried it. I have no desire, and this just confirms my decision. Yeah, it confirms my decision. Hey, my wife's cool with the way I look, so I'm gonna stick with that. I'm gonna ride that as long as possible until she starts changing her mind. Then I may have to look into it. But right now we're good. But hey, so I wasn't planning on talking about the bodybuilding stuff so much, but like now I'm just curious. So when I think of you, when I hear Rachel and Ashley talk about you, when I other people that I know that know you, and when I see you, do your thing, you always come off as an incredibly confident person. But I also know that in that bodybuilding world, some stuff that I've heard is that those are some of the most self-conscious people, because there's just like this body dysmorphia that happens because they're looking in the mirror. It's like, is my right bicep the right size compared to my left? Like, crazy. And then you have this like just this crazy mental battle that goes on with these people. And you think, again, it's like these should be the most confident people in the world because they look amazing. But from what I understand, there's a high level of depression and mental health issues. So when you were going through it, did you struggle with any of the body image stuff? Was there any battles with like, I could look better, when reality everybody's like, no, you look amazing, but in your eyes, it was not quite what you were expecting. Like, did you battle any of that stuff?
So that's so interesting. I when you look at the people in the gym, the buff ones, the lean ones, the ones that look incredible, they are probably the most insecure, more insecure than just your average Joe. And it's
Right.
body dysmorphia. It's so real, and it's the craziest. It's the craziest concept, right?
Oh yeah.
Because you're amazing. But the problem is it's never enough,
Mm.
right? You're
Mhm.
never lean enough. Your shoulders are never broad enough. You're not this, it's never enough. And I I'm so grateful for my mom, because she just, my whole life, I never, you hear stories about young women who, when they were kids, their mom called them fat, or their mom put them on diets, or their mom, they were always tearing them down. I
Mm.
never had that experience, or not even just a mother intentionally tearing them down. But when a mom is insecure, guess who can pick up on that? Your children, right? So if you're walking around and your mom is not confident in who she is, your child, we see that. And I am so thankful that my mom was supreme in her confidence. And I grew up watching this beautiful woman not just flaunt and be proud of everything that she was. And so I saw that, and I just naturally, I don't know if maybe when I was a kid, I just pretended until it was true for me. But I've always been really confident. And I've just always loved myself. I
Yeah.
really, I take the time to get to know myself and fall in love with who I am. And I think because of that, and I'm not perfect. I'm far from perfect. I mean, I'm talking physically and on the inside as well. Far from perfect, but I love me so much. And yeah, and bodybuilding did do that to me.
Mm.
After I competed, and you hear about people doing this all the time. Like they compete, and then the next week they're up 10 pounds or they're up 15 pounds, and then they're ashamed, and then they're doing all these crazy diets to try to get lean again.
Right.
And
Right.
I definitely went through that. So when I before I started competing, and it's so funny you said that when people talk about me, they talk about this confidence. I Before I started competing, I had a phenomenal physique. Like you said, your brothers were trying to figure out who's going to stand. I'm buff, and
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I've worked hard for that.
Yeah.
But in that, like, I'm a heavier girl, so my normal weight is 150, 155. My coach did not like all my muscle, and so right off the bat, I'm doing 1 hour of cardio. And then before you know it, I'm doing an hour in the morning and an hour at night. And that doesn't even include me going to the gym and sitting in the sauna. And so
Jeez.
I got chiseled down. I think my stage weight may have been 120. And so we're talking a 30-pound loss over this,
Oh my
time.
gosh. Jeez.
I'm an eater. I love, love food. Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm like, give me all the junk food, give me all the savory food, give me all the sweets. I eat it all. I do not discriminate.
Yeah.
And so I mean, after my first show, I ate all the snacks. And um, I think my first week I gained, I don't want to lie and I don't want to exaggerate, but I think in a week, I probably, in about 10 days, I probably gained 20 pounds.
Wow. That's
And
crazy.
no, it's disgusting.
Sure. I don't want to say that, but
It's disgusting.
yeah.
But after being on this strict diet for so long,
Yeah.
and then I'm in this world where now I can eat whatever I want, whenever I want, and I just took full advantage of it.
Yeah.
It's really hard, to dial back in um, and get back on this, clean bodybuilding diet and prepare for
Hmm.
another show. But yeah, I don't like the I didn't like what it did to me mentally.
Sure.
And I just think, you hear about it's the it's the simple things in life, right?
Hmm.
Like friends want to go out. They not even go out, just come over and have dinner.
Right.
And in your mind, you already know they put sauce on all their meat. You know that they put dressing on their salads. You know they marinated their chicken in milk,
Right.
and you can't have any of those things. And
Yeah.
so you're this weird person at a restaurant or at your friend's house, and you're pulling out your own meals. And I think a part of me initially was proud, like I can do this. I can still be a part, and I can still, socialize, and I can just have my own a little bag of chicken and a little bag of broccoli, and I'll do my thing and have a soda water. And honestly, sometimes just because of my dietary, like some of my things that I'm allergic to these days, I have to kind of bring my own things anyways. But
Sure.
there's just this really weird, it's a really, and I'm not putting anyone down. It was a really weird lifestyle for me.
Yeah.
And just a little, it's not fun. And life is so sweet. And
Yeah.
I think I have a capacity to be miserable for extended periods of time, right? And
Oh,
so
that's interesting.
with a like even with the last job that I had, I hated it, right?
Yeah.
I did not like the people there. I there was just, I mean, just no morals, no professionalism, horrible.
Yeah.
Good money, right? And so for me, I was like, I can be miserable for one more year,
Yeah. Yeah. Just keep grinding.
stack my money,
Yeah.
go with this. I just, my capacity or my propensity to just be miserable in circumstances for extended periods of time, I think really helped me with the bodybuilding situation. But
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
life is too short, right? And if I have to prep for 4 months, or if I have to prep for 6 months, and I can say, oh, just be miserable for 4 months, guess what? What if I die in 2 months? What if, because life is not promised to me, what if in 2 months I get really, really sick and I can't even enjoy people? I can't go out.
Yeah.
It's so short. And so instead of me trying to make my body as perfect as possible so that I can get on stage in a bikini and some heels, and flex my muscles. Or I can spend time with people. I can spend quality time with people that I say that I love, and I can get to know them better, and I can get to know myself, and they can get to know me better. And we can connect on a real level, you know, and that, um, to me, that's just a little more important to me. That feels really good.
I love that. I also want to point out, I don't know if you said this on air or off air, but you're like, I don't know what I'm going to talk about. Oh, okay. Sure. I'll never believe that again. That was incredible. We could end the show right now. No, I love that. I think that's a perfect way to describe your entire journey and how you came to that realization. Because, like I said, the last bodybuilder we had on the show, from what I understand, I've never done it, nothing close to it. But from what I understand, you really have to go all in or all out. And so you can't have one foot in and one foot out, because you're going to drive yourself crazy, and you'll drive yourself crazy because you won't get the results, but you're going to still try to, be disciplined and stay strict. It's not going to work. And so the guy we had on, he's like, all of my friends are in this world. He said, so when we go to a party, it's chicken, it's rice, it's broccoli. And we're like, perfect. We're gonna have a fantastic time. He's like, because you do have that element where people, don't invite you to stuff, or they stop inviting you to stuff, or like you said, they're kind of weird around you. It's like, well, you can't have pizza, you can't have this. So for him, it's like, oh, I'm just going to surround myself. Our core friend group are people that do this. So I think it helps. But again, he's all in. He's a pro, and he went fully after it. And I think if you're not ready to go fully after it, it's too much. Like you said, life's too short. So that's cool that you were able to recognize it. I mean, especially if, like you said, you have this ability and this capacity to just take more on. Like you said, it was beneficial to you as a bodybuilder, as a runner, as an athlete, as someone who's has a great job that they don't enjoy. It helped you in some ways, but then other ways it allows you to stay somewhere longer than you would want. And so I think that's so cool that you recognized it. And I wanted to transition a little bit because I didn't want to forget this. The confidence piece, and how your mom was this example of confidence to you. The thing that I think is so cool about that is when you and I were both working for Be Change, actually the year before I started working for them, the whole reason I even thought, hey, I would love to do this, is because I was doing I don't know if you remember this, I was doing a college project, and I asked you guys if I could come down and observe the running group that you guys ran down there. And it was one of the coolest things. I told my wife before that, I said, I'm not going to do a marathon. Like, I don't want to ever do a marathon. I went down there to hang out with you guys. I'm like, dang, I'm about to do this marathon, because you see the kids.
You don't work with Jason Harper and not do a marathon.
I didn't understand that. Luckily, I did the marathon the year before I started working for him, but then I ran 3 more after that. So, but the cool thing that I saw, and I saw through different people, but specifically you, was this confidence that you brought to that environment, the Oak Park area, where Oak Ridge Elementary School, and the girls that you mentored, and the girls that the kids in general, but I know there was some specific girls that were really near and dear to your heart. And the cool thing is like, you got to pass that on. Like your mom provided that confidence for you. And then you got to pass it on to girls who, you know, the home life may not have been great. They may have been in a different situation. They were seeking that confidence from someone. And then you kind of came in there to help them grow into that. And I just think that's a cool thing that, you know, like I said, I got to observe a little bit, and, you know, I just thought it was amazing.
You know, it's interesting. I was at the gym last week, and this guy that I see all the time, and we're just gym friends. Hey, how's it going? Good morning. Get it in. You do blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Came on the treadmill, and he's like, "I'm going to bother you," and so we just talked for, I think it was 15 minutes while I was on the treadmill, and we got into this conversation. I don't remember what he asked me, but I told him, I said, the time that I felt most alive in my entire life was when I was working at that elementary school.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, um, I just felt that I was being used, right, to my
Yeah.
full potential, my fullest capacity on that campus with those kids. I felt alive,
Yeah.
and it was a lot of work,
Yeah.
a lot.
Yeah.
I'm sure. Okay.
Yeah.
It was brutal at some times. But I just, I just, I felt alive, and you woke up every day and you had a purpose, and there was a task that was not just a to-do list of going down the list to make money, but it was like you were assigned a task, and it was going to affect someone's life.
Yeah.
And I always felt this connection to that school because it reminded me so much of the school, my elementary school in Oakland.
Yeah.
And at the time, I was living in El Dorado Hills. Is my lighting off? Can you see me still?
Oh, you're good. You're good.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was living in El Dorado Hills, and there was an Oak Ridge High School there, right?
Yeah.
In El Dorado, it's, this suburb rich, city.
Yeah.
And then I'm driving, making my way down to Oak Park, this, Oak Ridge Elementary School, this school in the hood.
Mm-hmm.
And, the kids at Oak Ridge have laptops, and they have Apple computers, and they, have a set of books for your students to have while they're in class. And then they have a set of books that they take home so that they don't have to take those books back and forth because they're too heavy. And then you have schools like my sister went to Oakland Tech, and they didn't have books. They didn't have books for the kids. They didn't kids home with homework. And so you see this difference, and I pull it back into Oak Ridge Elementary School. You see this difference. It's a 45-minute drive.
Yeah.
But there's disparity between these students get ABC and these students get nothing.
Right.
And trying to, will we ever fill that gap? Is it ever going to be fair? I can only pray to sweet baby Jesus that something about the school systems for our little baby. But I just felt, the classes, the desks, the boards, everything, the floors, everything reminded me of the elementary school that I went to, and I saw myself in those kids.
Yeah.
And so it was such an interesting time. It was fun.
Yeah.
It was just a beautiful time in my life. And I, like I said, I felt that's the one time where I felt like I was doing what I was supposed to be doing. And I just felt so fulfilled. But it didn't pay the bills.
Right. That's the tough part. You got to find something that does both. Right. And that's a challenge. Yeah. No, I completely, that's what I saw. Like when I was down there, even for that hour that I was down there watching you do your thing, that was so obvious to me that you were connected to those kids, because I know that I've heard in the past you grew up in a similar type area, which is, I think, why you had such a great impact on those kids, because they couldn't look at you and say, you have no idea what my life is like. They couldn't. It's like, oh no, I have a really good idea of what your life is like. And that's I've often brought you up and a couple of other people that I know that work in like the Meadowview area or Oak Park. And again, I know we have teachers that listen to this. My co-host is a teacher, my wife's a teacher, my sister's a teacher. I never want to be disrespectful to teachers. But, and I'm sure you saw some of this when you were working at Oak Ridge. I feel like in areas like that, like you said, because of the disparity between the availability of resources compared to other areas, the role of a teacher is so important in those environments. And I always felt like not all teachers are meant to teach in those areas, because I think if you don't have the heart to do it, don't do it. That's what I'm saying. Like, I'm glad, hopefully, I think you agree with me, because like I said, it has nothing, like if you can't do it, hey, it's all good. You're meant to teach somewhere else, but like open the door, leave the door open for someone who has a heart to do it. Because I think it requires another, I mean, I ran those run clubs for 3 or 4 years. Like, it requires a lot of patience to do it. I'm just there for an hour after school. These teachers are there every day. And so, I feel like if you don't have the right heart to do that job in that area, in my opinion, you shouldn't be doing it.
Step away.
It's too important.
It's too important. You can literally change these kids' lives.
Right.
The amount of time that is spent with these children every single day, there's such an impact and a responsibility that you have. And right. There was a teacher, I don't know if he was there when you were there, and I will not say his name, but he got to a place where he was making, I think he was making 6 figures. And I may have this a little skewed, but he was at a point to where he couldn't be fired. He knew that if he like worked 2 days and then took the rest of the week off and then came back and did this much time, and he learned how to work the system.
That's crazy.
Oh, it's horrible.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's if you're not made for it, don't be there. There's other options. But this is what I will say about teachers. They're underpaid.
Yeah, for sure.
There's no value on the type of work that they do. And that's devastating. And the kids are going to suffer for that. The teachers obviously are going to suffer for that. And those babies, they're suffering because of that.
100% agree. 100%. Yeah. We a couple, early on we had, I don't know if you're familiar with David Jameson. He's he's gotten more popular over the last couple of years. He's a 4th or 5th grade teacher from Tennessee, but he got kind of well known for doing handshakes with every one of his students.
Oh, yes.
That guy. Yeah. He's in Gap commercials now. Oh, you would love him. In fact, I'll say this, if we're able to get him back on the show at some point, we'll have you can co-host with me, because you would love him. Yeah. He's just an incredible dude, but you hear the heart, like when he was on the show, he's like talking about how, how he sees the kids and the importance of his job. It's just it's a dude that, he's supposed to be there, and like I said, I completely agree. I think teachers are way underpaid, because it's a super stressful job. Like, and I tell people all the time, like, if you're not getting frustrated with that job, then you probably don't care enough. At the same time, if you don't have the compassion for your students, then again, you're probably in the wrong spot. So like I said, I feel like I completely agree with you. I think you were in the right spot at the right time with the right group of kids. I think that was just such a cool moment. It was an amazing program. I'm sad that they're not doing it anymore, but maybe one day again, they'll pick that back up.
What's interesting is I've been trying to figure out how I can go back and reach back into that community. And I'm still friends with a handful of the young girls that were in the running program. And they're grown women. Some of them
they're in college now, right? Or beyond college now.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
And so, and it's beautiful. I'm not as close to them as I would hope to be. Like, I would do slumber parties with them and we'd hang out. We were just like, it was that type of relationship that we built. And and relationships that we built with the parents, the parents would call me Miss Alexis. The kids still, they're adults now. They still call me Miss Alexis or mom.
Right.
So I've been trying to figure out how to, whether it's, going with the older girls and getting them into working out in a park and, reaching back and, getting the younger kids involved in that way, in some type of way. I haven't figured it out. And I was dreaming about this all before COVID happened, and then COVID hit. And then obviously it makes a lot of those things more difficult, but
right.
Figure something out.
I believe it. It's gonna happen for sure. I have no doubt. And I think that's a cool idea too, like having the same girls. Like I was talking to some coaches about that, how they have athletes, whether it's basketball players, football players, baseball players, they come back after they graduate from college, they come back to coach for that same school that they graduated from. And I think there's a lot of value in that because they understand the culture, they understand what that school is all about, that program is all about. The same thing for a community, like those girls, they grew up in that Oak Park area. And if they can come back and, instill some of that knowledge and that experience with the younger kids, just like you came in to do for them, like, I think it just creates a really dope, cycle of influence. And I think that would be, I think it's amazing.
And it's so important for those kids to see, oh, you came from here and this is where you are now. Like it's possible to know the struggles that I deal with on a day-to-day basis, And so, I think that's extremely valuable.
Yeah, absolutely. So I don't want to keep you for a crazy amount of time, even though I feel like I could talk to you for forever. I'm really enjoying this conversation.
Like we said earlier, I listen to Joe Rogan's podcast, and I'm a big fan of Dave Brown, her podcast.
Okay, perfect.
And I was listening to a podcast one day, and the woman, she was introing the woman, and she goes, oh, she's a psychologist. She speaks 9 languages. She does this, she does that. She does this. And I was like, wait, I was like, when I talk to Jordan, like when I talk to Josh, like, what?
Hey, I've been there before too. We've gotten invited to do a couple of podcasts, and you're right. There's that feeling like, hey, give us your bio. My name's Josh, like Josh Takimoto. Like, what do you want me to do? I have nothing.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I had no doubt. I even told Rachel beforehand. It's like, I'm like, this is gonna be a fun podcast. And she's like, what are you guys talking about? I said, I have no idea. I'm just like, I have a couple of points I want to talk about, but other than that, we're just gonna go because that's how I see you. I'm like, I think you have so much experience and life experience and like I said, confidence and all this stuff. Like you'll give value for sure. I wasn't even doubting that. So
I love the confidence you have in me.
Hey, absolutely. So I want to ask you this. This is a hard right, but this is something, as soon as I saw this, because I've wanted you on the podcast for a while. I just, I wanted to get it kind of going. And then I knew, I'm like, you were like on a short list of people. I'm like, I have to get Alexis on because I think it'd be a great conversation. And then when I saw this on your Instagram stories, I made a note of it. I'm like, if she comes on the show, I'm 100% asking her about this because it made me laugh out loud when I saw it. I don't know if you were at some kind of beach. I don't know if you were here in the US or a different country, but you were filming yourself walking and you were talking about something. I can't remember. And you passed 2 guys and then all of a sudden your head shot back and you caught them in your camera checking you out. Do you remember that?
Yes.
It was, I told Rachel because she hadn't seen it at that point. I said, Rachel, you have to see this. It made me laugh so hard because you just called them out. And I'm like, I don't know how many of those dudes would have gotten called out by someone. And then you guys all laughed about it at the end, but it's like, hey, I saw you looking at me.
I see you.
Yeah. That was the best thing I've ever seen.
It's so funny. So, so I was in Miami and I was, talking so beautiful. I was so happy. And then I'm walking, these guys are walking towards me and I can see they're staring at me, but I'm just doing my own thing. Like I could see them in my side view. And then when I'm walking, they're doing this, they're getting here, and then I can see their heads turning. And then I don't know what made me turn around. Oh no, I could see them in the video, I think.
It was the video, yeah.
I saw them in the video and they were like still turned around staring at me and like,
yeah.
What are you doing?
Yeah.
Can I help you? And I'm not a rude person. I'm never, I'm very respectful, and I can understand someone staring. Like it's not an offensive thing if they're not being rude.
Sure.
My family is very vocal. So I remember even like going to the malls, I used to take her out with me, and guys would stare, and she would get so mad, and she would turn around and she'd be like, "Can I help you? What are you looking at? Cousin, what do you want?" And I was like, "Girl, come on, like this, it's fine. Like
Yeah.
they're looking, it doesn't matter if they're
All
not
good.
being rude, it's fine." Yeah.
Yeah.
So I thought it was hilarious. That's so funny you brought that up.
I'm not joking. I made a note of it. As soon as I saw it, I'm like, well, that's what when she comes on the podcast, I'm going to talk to her about it. So
You know, it's when I see beautiful people, I stare too. Like I love pretty things. And if I see a beautiful woman or even a beautiful man,
sure.
I am that person. If you're gorgeous,
Yeah.
work it, you're killing it. Like
Yeah.
I'm that person. And so
That's not a bad thing. I think if everybody was honest, I think most people do that. I've done that with Rachel before. I'm like, hey, did you see that dude? It's like,
did you see that too?
yeah. That's like, be honest, Rachel. Do you wish I looked more like him? It's fine. It's like we I have the ring. It's too late for you anyways, but
I do that with my boyfriend. He will not do it. And I'm like,
no.
Be honest, she's gorgeous. And he's like, she's okay.
Yeah.
Good answer, honey.
Yeah. I love that we both do that. It's so much fun because like you said, you never get a true answer, but I can tell. You know what I mean? It's fine. I can tell by your eyes, but it's all good. Yeah.
I have.
Sorry, wait, say that again. You cut out a little bit.
Oh, I know beauty. Okay, you do not have to lie about it. We can agree that someone is gorgeous.
It's all good.
Not hurt.
Yeah, it's all good. But see, for the two guys in your video, most people don't get caught on camera doing it, you know, and then called out right away. And that's one of those things too, where I feel like they stared at the wrong person in the wrong moment. Because that's another thing. Like, I think of you as a confident person, but I also think of you as like a fearless person. Like, some people would be like, I'm not gonna say anything. Like in the video, if you see the video, there's no hesitation. It's like, hey, what are you guys doing back there?
Hey.
Yeah. I loved it. I thought it was amazing.
You know what's interesting is we're all people.
Sure.
And I think sometimes, whether it's fear or anxiety or whatever it can be, at the end of the day, we just have to realize I'm a human being. I have insecurities. I have fears. I'm an imperfect person, but also so is everyone that I encounter, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And so I just try to love on people. I try to connect with people. I try to just be and understand people on a real level. And and I don't know, I think maybe that's why I'm that way in any circumstance, and I can, talk to anybody or have confront someone or any of those things. I'm comfortable in those spaces.
Yeah, which I think is awesome. And that actually kind of leads me into my next question. You are someone who I think of as being really well connected. Like I feel like you could probably go anywhere, like pick a place on the map, and I feel like you're pretty close to knowing someone in that general area. Like it seems like that to me. Maybe I'm wrong, but this is how I see you. You're like Carmen Sandiego to me. Like you just travel the world and you just know everybody. You know what I mean?
Okay, so this is what I'll say. That's really sweet, and I know a lot of people in a lot of places, but not that many people in that many places.
Okay.
But I am someone that when I travel, every time I travel, I try to make sure I travel with the right people. And when I travel, magical things happen, and I meet magical people. And so when I travel, I'm open to making friends. And I feel like every time I go somewhere, I have the most incredible experiences and meet the most incredible people. For example, and this is not, where was I going? I was flying. I had to go to Arizona for work a couple of months ago.
Okay.
plane from Sacramento, and I'm sitting next to this guy, and he's a bigger guy. I'm sitting in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
He's doing one of these things. So the armrest is down. He's kind of a little overflowing into my side, but he's
Sure.
got his crossed over this way, and he's holding his arm like he's doing this and phone, and he was trying so hard to not be on my side.
Sure.
I just leaned over and I was like, hey, you don't have to do that. Get comfortable here. I was like, just do your thing. And he goes, no, that's okay. And I go, just be comfortable. I don't want you to feel like you need to do that.
Yeah.
And he goes, thank you. And
Wow.
he looked down at my phone, and my phone is my screensaver is a photo of me as a baby, my mom holding me, and my grandma.
Okay.
Which is, it's probably one of my favorite photos because my mom, and this, I'm like going off on a tangent, but I'll circle back.
No, you're good. You're good.
My mom was going to get an abortion, and she was keeping her pregnancy. She was pregnant with me. She was keeping her pregnancy from my grandmother, who was her husband's mom, and they were always really close.
Mm-hmm.
And so she would go to her house, she would clean her house, feed her, hang out with her. And she would just wear these baggy sweaters or really big coats to cover up the fact that she was pregnant.
Sure.
And one day she was cleaning my grandma's house, and my grandma went over to her and she said, my grandma's drugs. And she said, if you killed that baby, I will never talk to you again.
Wow.
And she didn't kill me.
I'm glad to hear that.
Me too. But
yeah.
I have this photo of me as a baby, grandma in the background, and my mom holding me, and my grandma is just staring at my mom with this biggest smile. Like you can just tell she loved my mother.
That's incredible.
And so that's my screensaver. And so he saw it and he goes, is that you? And I go, yeah, that's me as a little baby. And he goes, oh, and he goes, and is who is that? And I said, that's my mom and my grandma. And he goes, is your mom still here? And I go, no. I was like, she's not here anymore. I said, but I stare at my screensaver sometimes just makes me happy. And he goes, he shows me his phone, and his screensaver is this young teenager. And he goes, this is my son. And I looked at him and he goes, he passed away in August. And we literally talked the entire flight. This man cried. So his son committed suicide. He talked for so long. We talked about his marriage. We talked about his religion. We talked about his insecurities. We talked about who he thought he was as a father. We had a real conversation. And I was so thankful for that. And I think about how many lost opportunities that we have just like that, right? I mean, this man was boohoo crying.
Yeah.
And at the end of, like, I was like, I had to check him because he said, all these men, everybody on this flight, I'm sure they're better fathers than me. And he's crying, he's in tears, he's bawling. And I said, don't you dare. And I don't know what came over me, but I just started speaking to this man and telling him everything that he was. I said, this is what you and your wife need to do for 21 days. You write some affirmations on your mirror. I just gave him the whole rundown.
Yeah. He's like, who is this lady?
He's probably like, I don't know who this little girl thinks she is.
Yeah.
But I live for those kind of moments. And if we are not willing to let our walls down and just really connect with people, we're going to miss so many of those opportunities. How many times do we get on a flight and we're just on our phone, or we're on our laptops, or we're on, reading a book, or we're just, no one else exists. And so I don't know what we were talking about, but moments like that where you can connect with people and possibly change even if it's something small in their day to day, something that you can change in someone's thinking. I'm so, so thankful for those types of moments. You asked me a question, but I can't remember what it was.
I can't remember either. It doesn't even matter at this point because that was such an amazing story that it's all good. Yeah, forget the question. That was way better. I can guarantee that was better than the question that I asked.
So,
But that's so true though. Just that, I mean, because that whole conversation literally started because of just like a small act of kindness. Like you were trying to let that dude just relax. Like he was trying to, keep his arm from crossing over into your section. You're like, hey man, you don't need to do that. And then
yeah.
that whole, just like that, even that small, just act of kindness created this entire conversation where at the end of it, you were speaking these like words of life into him, which I think is just incredible. But like you said, I hear so many stories of people saying, I want to get on my flight. I don't want to talk to anybody. I hate when there's a chatty person next to me. I want to put my headphones on, fall asleep. Just like I'm going to do anything to avoid having a conversation. But like you said, you could miss such a cool opportunity like that. And again, that's why that's why we do this podcast. Is like we can have a conversation every week. It's just normal conversation like this about anything and everything. But hopefully that someone that's listening to this hears the story that you just shared and that helps them, or what I mean? Like that's just, I completely agree. Just the connections you can make, you never know where it's going to lead. It may lead to nothing. That conversation, it could have just been a conversation and that was it. But who knows, that whole conversation you had with that guy could have potentially just changed his entire life, all because you were willing to connect with him and have that conversation, which I think is incredible, and again, that's why we have you on the show. Like I said, I keep saying it. I was not worried about what we would talk about. Like we would find our way for sure. Yeah. Well, let me ask you this too, because I feel like, kind of staying on the same topic. Like I said, we'll wrap this up soon because I want to be respectful of your time. But being someone who's willing to connect, like I'm gonna try, how do I want to word this? So being someone like yourself who's willing to go out and connect with people, sometimes what can happen when that happens and you're connected to a lot of people, sometimes there's this weird dynamic where people, because you're so friendly and so outgoing and people just feel your positive energy, I would imagine that sometimes people think that they're closer with you than they really are, which can create a weird dynamic sometimes, because then there's these weird expectations of like, if you do something, they're thinking like, why'd you do that? It's like, I don't even know, like how we're not even that well connected. Like, why would you be offended by that? You know what I'm saying? Like there's like a weird expectation that can happen because they feel like they're so connected with you, and it may not be that serious. It may just be, a very casual acquaintance, but they feel like they're your best friend. So I guess a couple of questions. One, is that something you've experienced, being someone who is very outgoing and very loving and willing to connect with people? And on the other side of that, because you have so many connections with people, like how do you protect your circle? Because I'm a person who keeps my circle very small. Like I love people, but when it comes to like that inner circle, I keep it pretty tight. There's only like a handful of people that I love to the point where I would trust them with anything. I don't know if that's the case for you, but so it's kind of two big questions, but like I'm just rambling at this point. Like how do you keep that circle tight, and then how do you, like, I guess, deal with some people that maybe feel like they're closer with you than they actually are?
Yeah, this is good. This is really good. So, how do I answer this?
I don't know. That was a horrible question. I should have thought about that more before I asked it, because that was like such a big question.
It's such a big question, so we're gonna take it down and just like we're gonna put it in buckets maybe.
Okay, yeah.
So
First bucket.
there's a couple things. I think because of the type of personality that I have, people, I'm not going to say that people assume that we're close or that we're best friends,
Hmm.
but I think because of who I am, people think that I am a people person or that I'm an extrovert.
Hmm.
But I'm an introvert to the fullest.
Hmm.
So for me, being around people, um, it takes a lot of energy out of me.
Hmm.
And so a couple of things that and I'm so thankful. I know COVID has devastated a lot of people, a lot of families, a lot of businesses. Are you still there? Because my battery was going low.
You're good. It showed your
Um,
name for a second, but you're back.
Okay. But what it gave me was the opportunity to slow down and really gauge a lot of things about myself, and a lot of qualities about the friendships that I had, the people that I dealt with, the people that I allowed in my close circle. I have a very tight knit circle. It's just a handful of close friends.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then I have people that I know, and you know, we have fun together, we hang out together, and I love and adore them, but I don't give them a lot of time.
Mm-hmm.
So I've noticed if people drain me, I have to find a crew of people that don't drain me,
Mm-hmm.
right? So
Sure.
even when, for example, I'm going to back it up a little bit.
Yeah,
Do you
please
know
do.
who Simonek is?
I'm sorry, cut out. Say it one more time.
Simon Simonek?
Oh yeah, I'm reading one of his books right now. Leaders Eat Last.
Oh, love that book.
Yeah, I'm probably like 30 pages in.
It's so good. It
Yeah.
gets better and better. Okay. That's the first book that I read of his. And
Oh, cool.
I love just listening to him talk. And so he did an interview, and he talked about being introvert, extrovert. And the way he explained it was so perfect. He said, an extrovert wakes up every single day, and every single day they have an empty bucket, right? And I'm probably gonna mess this up, but you're gonna get the point.
Yeah.
Up every day, and they have an empty bucket, and with every encounter that they have, their bucket is filled. So when they have 5 encounters, they're full. At the end of the day, they're so full because they spent time with this person, they had lunch with that person, they went to coffee with this person, they did yoga with that person, they went to dinner with this person. They're so full, they feel alive, they're wonderful. But an introvert wakes up and they're already at a 5, right? At a 5.
Yeah.
So every encounter that they have, it takes away from them. And so at the end of their day, after all of those encounters, they're drained. And so they have to do whatever it takes in order to fill themselves back up. So one thing for sure that I do is I spend so much quality time with myself. It is mandatory. It's something that I require. It's something that my boyfriend, it took him so long to understand that, like, hey, I want to be with myself because I love myself. This has nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with myself.
Yeah. That could be like a whole nother conversation. Yeah.
But he got to a point where he's like, he understands it. Like, this is not,
Sure.
You're not sad. You're not in a bad place. You're not upset with me. You just need your quality time with yourself. And so I really make sure that I spend adequate time with me. And I do things, whether it's reading a book by myself, or taking a bath, or spending a whole day and organizing, or whatever that looks like, going out on the grass in a park, and just being alone, listening to music, whatever that looks like. I take really good care of myself in that way. So that when I spend time with people, I can bring my best self.
Right.
And so I'm really choosy with the people that I spend time with, and I gauge myself, right? Because I'm an introvert, most times, I don't want to hang out with people, and I'm not a quality time person.
Okay. See, that's funny because I am. Yeah.
And
I know.
my boyfriend.
I'm surprised we're doing this right now. I just realized how lucky I am to have you on the show. This could have gone really bad.
No.
I'm kidding.
So what's so interesting about that, Josh, is
Yeah.
I'm a quality time person, but everybody in my life that I love, guess what they are?
Of course.
They're
Of course they
quality
are.
people.
Oh, that's brutal.
And so it's so hard. Like, It's
Yeah.
so hard for me. And I'll be honest, I have been saying I'm going to work on being a better friend for 15 years. And you can call any of my friends. They'll tell you, I got your back. If you need
Yeah.
me, if it happens.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
if you quality time every week, I am not your
Not
girl.
gonna happen.
I am not the one. And
That's
so
funny. So wait, so sorry to cut you off. What is that? What is that thing for you? If it's not quality time, what is it for you?
my pitch,
Yeah.
um, so I have, are you asking for just one, or do you want a couple, or do
Like
you
I guess what's the main one? Because like for
my
me, I think quality, if like you rank them, right? Like quality time would be my number one. So what's your
my
number one?
my number one is words of affirmation.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, I'm a words person.
Hmm.
And then my second one would be acts of service. And then my third one, they say gifts, but I add food into that as well. So
There you
gifts,
go.
food, those are the same to me.
Yeah, absolutely.
And honestly, quality time is going to be my last one. It's sad, but I'm working on it. I'm a work in progress, and I may not ever figure it out, but I just hope that in the process that the people that I love feel loved by me and forgive
That's
them.
yeah, yeah. They just have to understand. That's so funny. And this could be, like I said, this could be a whole nother podcast because I'm pretty sure that I'm the exact opposite of you.
Oh my
Like
gosh.
sometimes the words of affirmation, like I've been around some people that give me too like compliments too much. I'm like, all right. Like it makes me feel weird sometimes. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like, and so I'm like, yeah, I would rather not know how you feel. just, just let,
Oh,
just let it go. It's not that extreme, but you know what I mean? Like I have to, it's been a while since I've taken that test or that evaluation. I may have to do it again. Cause that's the thing too. Like that stuff always changes, right? Like,
I think as you evolve, the way that you express love and the way that you receive love evolves with you. You know,
yeah,
I mean, so for me to hear that you're not comfortable with words of affirmation, but when we jumped on this call, you were literally speaking into me. So, so I mean, that's a big thing. You're giving me words of affirmation, but you say
true.
that that's probably, low on the totem pole for you, but you're giving it. And so,
It's a weird thing, right?
yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah. But see, then like that's for you, like you're taking an hour out of your evening to chat with me. So like that means a lot. It's a weird, it's a weird thing. And like I
Mm,
said, I'm sure like I've even talked to my wife about this. I think, yeah, I think ours have changed over the years too. Like I think my favorite rapper, he had mentioned this before in some of these podcasts where when you get married, and I think it applies to like friendships or any relationship that if it's a long lasting one, say it lasts 10 to 15 years, you're going to experience different forms of friendship or different forms of marriage all within that one marriage, right? Because the person, like when we met in high school, we're
you're
completely different people now. And even if
not,
you look back like 5 years, we were different people then, we're different people now. And it's like you just constantly go through these different cycles. And it's almost like you are married or you have a friendship with a different person,
yeah.
as the years go on, or like multiple people as the years goes on. So it is a really interesting thing, just that
Yeah.
whole dynamic.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So this is a question for you, right? So you've known
Uh-oh,
you
flipping it
you
on me.
no, 'cause
Yeah, yeah, go ahead.
so you've known Rachel for how
Yeah.
many years?
So we met, I'm bad at math, but I know we met when I was a junior in high school. So would have been '05. So 16 years at this point.
So 16 years ago. So let's say you're writing letters, and I'm sure she was so googly goggly. I'm positive she still has those letters
Oh yeah, I know for a fact she does.
because I know her.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
I know you do. Yeah.
So she kept those letters and they meant the world. But I'm curious as to 16 years later, she's now your wife, she's now a mother. Would she prefer a little love note, or would she prefer a little acts of service and have you clean the whole house or do all the laundry one week so that she doesn't have to?
Yeah, I think that's really interesting. And I would say because of our current season of life, I think quality time is a big one, because quality time right now, I don't want to say it's at a premium, but like obviously with the craziness of kids and work and all these different things, like the amount of alone time where it's just her and I is so
Mm.
much smaller than it used to be. Um, you know, I think that would probably, if I had to guess, I'm going to ask her after we're done here. I'm going to ask her to see if I'm right, but I feel like that would be the one, just because it's the one right now that takes the most effort, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Because you really have to like carve out the time. It's not impossible, but you do have to make the effort. And, you know, especially at the stage we're at with our youngest baby, like it does require a lot out of her too. So, you know, there's the tiredness and, you know, dealing with the baby and the crying and waking up in the middle of the night and all that stuff. So I would guess that it's quality time. But yeah, you're right. You're completely right. I think back when we were in high school, it probably was the gifts, right? Like the notes and the, you know, the surprises and things like that. I think that probably meant a lot, and those things still do. But yeah, I think it's I would say it's probably shifted for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And my challenge to you is, once you find out what her current love language is, I challenge you for 21 days to smother her in that love language.
All right. I've been challenged.
All
You came
right.
on my own podcast to challenge me, and I accept. I'll take that challenge. I love it. That's why we love having you on here, because you're, like I said, fearless for sure. I love it. Well, hey, again, I want to be respectful. I could do, like I said, I could do this forever. I'm not going to do a Joe Rogan style podcast where we're talking for 3 hours. It'd be fantastic, but we both have stuff to do, and
I don't think anyone would listen to me for 3 hours.
they would listen. They would listen to you. They would not listen to me. It's like, hey,
You're so
man, just cut your mic off, let Alexis talk, and maybe step out of the way.
no nonsense. I will say this. Thank you, of course, for having me. This has not. What time is it? It's 9:08. It did not feel like an hour. And with
good.
that, I want to say I'm so proud of you for what you're doing. I think this is the perfect time to have a podcast such as this, where you are just connecting with people and having conversation, and just having an organic conversation. And I appreciate that. I'm so proud of you. I feel like I've watched you, and I know you said like you don't really know me intimately, but we've both watched each other as paths have crossed throughout this life.
Right.
And I've seen you in high school, and it started with your little brother. And I've just kind of, from a distance, just kind of watched your family grow. And your parents, first of all, have done such a wonderful job with their kids. I mean, you guys are all amazing. You're such a beautiful family, and they should probably write a book or something, like a
Hey,
how.
that's not a
Like
bad idea. That's not a
how
bad idea.
to and,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm so proud, and to see you from this high school kid dating Rachel, and being just a wonderful boyfriend, and now a loving, amazing husband, and taking on all of that as a husband and a father, and now connecting people with your podcast and seeing, I mean, you're official. I was listening to some of your podcasts and just listening to the intros, and
Oh,
watching you
thank
do.
you.
It's impressive.
Well, thank
And
you very much.
to see the growth within a year, and I just can't wait to see where you're going to be at next year. And whenever you want to have me come on and talk about anything, it'd be an honor.
Okay, you say that now, but when you get that text from me again, like in a week or
I'll
two,
I'll respond.
okay, I appreciate that. I appreciate that. So before I ask this last question that we ask everybody at the end of our show, I just want to say this, and you can be honest, or it won't hurt my feelings. Now that we've had this hour-long conversation, is there any chance that you maybe like me better than my wife or sister? Is there any possibility? I'm gonna
Yeah,
pretend like you're not laughing because I feel like it's gonna hurt my feelings, but no.
but it's a hard no.
I appreciate. Hey, you know what? I appreciate that. You're a good friend. I didn't think I was gonna get you on that.
Those are my babies, so there's
I
like,
know. I thought I'd try. I knew it was gonna be unsuccessful, but I'm like, I'm gonna give it a shot. Take my shot.
You took
Hey,
a shot. No,
so
sir.
yeah, I'm gonna tell Rachel that when I leave here. And she's like, of course I knew that. You could have asked me that. I knew the answer to that. So the last question we have is what we call our connection suggestion, and we'd like to ask our guests if there's one person, brand, organization. It could be a local restaurant. Doesn't have to be local, but anywhere that you feel like our audience should be connected to in some place, person, organization that we should be following. Who would that be?
Ooh.
And I do have a question while you're thinking. I do have a question for you too, because one place I haven't had a chance to try because of COVID, but there's a place in El Dorado Hills that you have tagged a few times. And is it Mom and Pop's Chicken Shop?
Yes.
I saw the pictures. We follow them. I'm dying to get up there to try that place. It looks amazing.
Okay, so you need to go to Mom and Pop's Chicken Shop, but the owner also owns Milestone in El Dorado Hills. Have you heard of it?
Oh, I have. It's on the like in the town center, right?
Yeah, they're within walking distance of each other. They're both in town center.
Oh,
That
the chicken shop is?
the chicken shop is right next to Milestone.
I had no idea.
Yeah, they're in the same plaza. I recommend them. That's Milestone is my favorite brunch spot, and I love the ambiance.
Yeah.
But my owns Salsa Taqueria in Folsom, so I got to give him a shout out. The best burrito tacos ever.
Ooh. Okay.
But you know what? I want to share this.
Okay.
I love
Ooh.
reading.
Okay.
And this book, it's called Only Love Today, and it's reminders to breathe more, stress less, and choose love. And it's by Rachel Macy Stafford. And this
That's
is
a dope cover. I like that.
reminds you to just pause and take in everything that is going on right now with the people that you love. And I'm going to show, I don't know if you can see this, but there's like writing in here and highlights, different
Oh,
colors.
geez. You're not joking.
So I pass this around. I pass this around to my girlfriends, and we take notes and we pass it back, and it just goes around in a circle. And it's something that I love this book. And you know what? You want me to read you a little piece?
Yeah. Let's have a little excerpt.
And then I'll leave you alone for the evening.
Hold on. Before you do that though, this is the problem. This is why the conversation could go on forever, because like these little things pop in my head. So when I have a book, 'cause I'm a note taker, highlighter in my books. But that's why I don't really let people borrow my books, because I'm like, you're gonna have all of my crap all over it, and do you really want that? But you guys actually pass the same book around, and everybody takes their own notes within that same book.
Yes. And it's beautiful.
That is cool. I've never heard that before.
And so I understand where you're at with, and I don't know if you can see this, but there's like green, there's pin, there's different colors. I understand your books being so personal to you, and you're highlighting, you've got your notes, but I love reading my girlfriend's notes, and I love where they've gone highlighter crazy. Because that tells you where they're at, right? It tells you where they're at mentally. It tells you where they're at in their relationships. It tells you, and then it gives you conversation. Like you can talk to that person about what they circled 17 times. And I don't know. I love it.
No, that's really cool. I've never thought about that. Like I said, my whole thing was like, you're just going to be annoyed by all of my markings. Like you just want to read this book. You don't want to see all of my nonsense, but that is a super interesting way of looking at it. I've never heard anybody do that before.
You know, why would I be annoyed with all of your highlighting? Because now I can see what set your soul on fire in this book. And now that's going to catch my attention, because maybe I wasn't even going to pay attention to that paragraph. Maybe I was going to breeze right through it. But because it was important to you, to someone that I love, now I'm going to take a step back, and, I'm going to read it a little bit slower.
That makes a ton of sense. That's awesome. So I didn't mean to interrupt you, but
maybe I don't know.
No. I've never thought about it that way. I thought it was going to like hinder someone's reading experience, but that makes a ton. Like it adds more value to their reading experience from what you're saying. I love that.
You're such a considerate reader.
I try to be. I try to be. It may just be I don't trust people with my books. I don't know. I'm not sure if they're going to give it back.
That's true. And I'll be honest, I've lost a couple of books, but
My co-host, she's not here tonight to defend herself, but her current mic setup is on top of 3 books that she borrowed from friends and never gave back. That's a true story. She's going to be bummed that she missed this episode. She would have loved you and you would have loved her. So next time when she's back on.
Yeah, and I actually want to see I want to see a photo of that. Is that weird?
Not at all. Not at all.
I had here it is. Are you ready for this, or do you have more questions?
I have so many questions, Alexis, but I'm not going to. So we're gonna end on this so that you're free to go and that you don't have to spend any more quality time with me.
No, scribble those questions down. We'll talk about them at a later date, and then we'll end with this. And just you're such a great conversationalist, which is really important.
Thank you.
No, thank you. You make it easy. So this one is called Real Living Found Here. And it says, help wanted, read the sign in the shop window. This got me thinking, what about the signs we put in the windows of our lives? Perfection wanted, read too many of them. That's why I can't submit my story for publication. My story needs more work. I'll just keep working on it. That's why I can't invite friends over to my house. My house isn't fully furnished. I'll just wait until I get a sofa. That's why I can't voice my opinion on the issue. I can't find the right words. I'll just keep thinking about it until the perfect words come to me. That's why I can't take my kids to the class they love. They might act up. I'll wait until we get our issues sorted out. That's why I don't pick up that instrument. I can practice only once a week. I'll pick it up when I have more free time. That's why I don't exercise. I can't take the stairs without getting winded. I'll start being more active when I have more energy. Perfection wanted. We hang those words in the windows of our lives, and in the act of waiting until we delay the true living of life. Sure, you might not get published. Sure, you might scare someone away with your dust bunnies. Sure, the kids might act up and embarrass you. Sure, you might stutter or play the wrong notes. But what if those things don't matter? What if someone looks out her window and sees you putting one foot in front of the other? What if your decision to tear up your perfection wanted sign inspires someone to tear up his? You have the power to change the sign you are hanging in the window of your life. Why not this instead? Adventure wanted, grace wanted, authenticity wanted, real living wanted, and found here. Today's reminder, today I am putting up a new sign in the window of my life. It reads, and then you fill in the blank with whatever you want. And then it says, it reads blank wanted. I will describe what it might look like in my life and figure out one small step I can take to make it happen. Then I will welcome blank into my life with arms wide open. I will ask it to stay, to take up a permanent residence in my soul. Wow. So it just has like that. And
that's incredible.
It just it warms my little heart. And I believe that it helps me love the people that I'm around a little more tenderly, and it's been good for my soul.
And I get it. That was an incredible section of that book. So I think I think a lot of people in our audience is gonna listen and want to grab a copy of that book. So Only Love Today: Reminders to Breathe More, Stress Less, and Choose Love by Rachel Macy. Is it Stafford?
Yes.
Rachel Macy Stafford. So go check out that book. Yeah, I mean, that's incredible. That's just one page or one section of the book. It's a big book too. If you're not watching, it's a decent sized book. So there's a lot more stuff in that book that you're gonna want to get your hands on. So
yeah.
So Alexis, this has been a ton of fun. Thank you so much for doing this. I don't know if you're cool with this. Where can people follow you, get in touch with you, social media, all those things? Or if you don't want to put that out there, that's cool too.
Yeah, you know what? It's interesting. I'll share my Instagram. I need to do better. I'm not really on there as often as I would like these days. I'm just so busy. But my Instagram is happy, HAPPY, the number 2, the letter B, and here, HERE 1438. And
take notes on that. Yeah, that's a long one.
before I even really knew what Instagram was. And now I hate it. So I'll probably change my name sometime soon, but
Okay.
it's Happy Here 1438. And that's how you can find me. And another thing before we go, I know we're dragging
Please.
this out.
It happens all the time. I'm guilty of that. So hey, you're the guest. Take as much time as you want.
Then.
Yeah.
I wanted to say thank you because I think sometimes I'm really hard on myself. And so sometimes I don't see all the beauty that is me. And tonight, just the way that you introed me in the podcast, you called me all these wonderful things. And I really appreciate that. And you really spoke life into me tonight. And I thank you for that. That is such a beautiful gift that you gave me. And I'm going to literally carry that into the rest of my week. And yeah, I really appreciate that.
Well, thank you for the kind words, and I'll accept those words of affirmation, even though that's number 5 for me. I do appreciate you saying that.
Even though I don't appreciate it.
It makes me uncomfortable. No, I'm kidding. No, that really does mean a lot. I do appreciate that. And anybody who knows me well, like I know Jordan's listening. Jordan listens regularly, so he's going to be excited to hear this one. He knows, and everybody else, my wife, my close circle knows that I don't say things like that unless I mean it. So everything I said about you is 100% true. And I'm really thankful that you were willing to come on this show and have the conversation, because even just within this hour, I feel like I know you even better than I did prior to this. And so, and it makes me even, more grateful that you are in the lives of both my little sister and my wife, because I know, like I said before, how much they love you. And it makes even more sense now that we've had a chance to have this conversation. So, yeah, I'm just going to say it. I'm competitive. I know other people are too. This is one of my favorite episodes we've done. So, all the other guests, you better step it up, because she set the standard pretty high. So
A game.
Boom. Yeah.
I love it.
We'll stop it right there. So Alexis, thank you so much. I appreciate it, and enjoy the rest of your week. And we'll talk again soon. We're gonna definitely do this again in the near future.
This was a delight.
Absolutely.
Soon.
Thank you so much, Alexis. Take care. Thanks for watching the show. If you enjoyed that episode, make sure you like it, share it, and hit the subscribe button to get a new episode every week. We'll see you next time on the Connectable podcast.